Hello everyone, we are back with our third and final in the series of GitHub related vulnerability labs. This one is called Git and Crumpets. Already got the machine running. I've got my open VPN connected. Let's read what it says. What is the mission? Pretty straightforward. Let's get the user and root flags. Nothing much more than that to go on. So let's begin with an Nmap scan. Going for all the ports. We'll save it to a file. And this little tac open speeds things up a bit because it only interacts with open ports. So already we get something to work with here while it continues on with the 65,000 plus ports. So seeing that we have web, it looks like, let's go out and see what is there. Okay, so right off the bat, we're getting rickrolled. Thank you, room creator. Now, I'm curious, because if anyone's been watching these Git series, we know that it's a Git repo, so we're going to get this out of the way. It's just sort of like a robot stock text while we're here, .git, and it just redirects. Now, seeing that that redirects, I have a theory that no matter what I type, it's going to go back to Rick Ashley, and there it is. So our room builder decided that if we try to enumerate this web channel this way, and I'm already thinking ahead to like go Buster, Durbuster, all roads lead to Rick Ashley, which is not a good thing, right? It's just spinning our wheels. So we're not going to waste our time. See you, Rick. But it's nice that if you pay attention, you can save yourself a little bit of aggravation. So what I would like to check as this is running, keep in mind all we have is SSH open, right, on port 22 and port 80, which looks like a dead end. But let's get back to the basics here and just send a curl, and never going to give you up. Let's slow it down with less so we can read it and read through what we have here. Go away. Nothing to see here. Okay, move along. And then, hey guys, I set up the dev repos. Ooh, we have, looks like a vhost. Git.git and crumpets.thm, but I haven't gotten around to setting up the domain yet. So that makes sense. That means this really doesn't exist other than their internal systems, which we can easily see because we can't reach it. But there's a way to fix that, right? And that is by adding that to our Etsy host file, right? Okay. Now, if we reload the page, ooh, look at this. Gitia, Git with a cup of tea and crumpets, painless, self-hosted Git service. Okay, I always view the source, looking for clues. And what do we have? I really don't see anything of interest, but it's good to rule out. Now, looks like we have an option to register and sign in. We don't have creds, so Let's sign up as a user. So nothing fancy here. Simple. Let me in type thing. Okay. We don't have to worry about saving this stuff. So now I'm just a user. We have a dashboard, issues, pull requests, milestones, and explore. So let's look around. Okay, so we have other users here as well. We have Hydra. These are all 2 years old. Hasn't been very active. README, which is down here. Initial commit, one commit. Yeah, just not a lot going on here. Some MIT license with a hello world. Okay. And what about this guy? Delete license, 5 commits. Delete passwords file. That's interesting. So he added passwords and he deleted passwords. What does this say? I kept the password in my avatar to be more secure. Some email. Well, that's just for MIT. Reference that other user. Yeah, well, there's nothing here other than this hint. So I'm already thinking EXIF tool, some password in this image. We're going to need to download it. Okay, put a label on it and download it. Okay, let's move it to our working directory here. And what do we have? We have my password should be easy enough to guess. Now, if I take that at face value, because it's in quotes, is it really this easy? It's password with a P? Well, let's find out. So I'll log out. I'm going to log in as scones and type in that amazing password. Of course, keep in mind that password could have been 15 characters, alphanumeric, scrambled eggs. It doesn't matter because you saw how easy it was to get. So I think that's the point that the lab builder is trying to make here. Do not store your creds in your GitHub repo. So what do we have here? Just a bunch of history of things they did 2 years ago. Dashboard, explore. I want to get it, see what is going on with this repo now that we are him, as opposed to we were just a normal user before. Nothing really has changed here, although it's like an add, upload files. Let's go to settings. Okay, here's some things we can do. Now, Git hooks looks very interesting to me because I know some of the capabilities. If you're not familiar, Git hooks is a way to automate scripts. For instance, let's say you were on a dev team and you wanted to write a short script to check on something that's running, like perhaps a website that you're developing, and you're checking for errors or when it goes down or whatever you're monitoring. That is something that can be done here. So now notice that it is written in bash. So if we were going to do something malicious, like embed a reverse shell, of course we'd be looking at bash to do that. So I'm liking this. Let's go out to rev shells. And this is already set for our OpenVPN. Port's fine. And you can see there's bash. Perfect. So we'll just put that up here because if it connects, it won't go any further. And we'll update this. Okay, see, now we have the green light, which means it's ready to go. Now, the final thing we need to do is do a commit. So we can, there's two ways we do it. We add a new file, or we can edit something like this README file. Okay, so seeing that I can edit things, I'm going to say I can touch this. That's all we need to just change something. There's commit. And we need to start a reverse shell. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, let's edit. Really this time. Commit. And we got nothing. We have nothing. And that's interesting. Go back to settings. That all looks fine. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to change. Let's go to a higher port. Okay, just a theory, just in case there's some type of firewall going on here, and we need to again do another commit. We'll just make a file this time. Doesn't matter as long as we're committing. And before we do that, we have to change our port. Okay. Commit. And we'll say yes. Whoa, what do we got here? Looks like we have a connection. Make sure we're not hallucinating here. Let's send a few commands. What do we have here? Yeah, we are definitely on that server because look, different ID as Git, and this is the name of the server. Let's look around. We should be in the repo somewhere, and we are. And now you see the power of Git hooks with the right privileges. Very powerful and can be very deadly to your server. So we don't have sudo privileges with this particular user. That's okay. So let's look around a little bit. Okay, I like to go home, see what the user's been up to. Okay, there we have Git and Hydrogum. Sure. Let's see what is in that directory Git. There's our flag file and an SSH. Looks like it's not saving any history. It's going to the trash bin. So okay, that's a flag file, but it looks like it's in base 64. So let's try. And if you notice, our shell is kind of wonky because it is a wonky shell, but we could fix that. But let's just show you that. And so that's just a quick way to decode something. Decode a file, set it to base 64, decode. And let's grab the first file. Okay. Put that where it belongs. Make sure we're on the right track here. Okay, so we have 1 out of 2. And what we can do, just to make this shell a little bit more stable, is my little shortcut sheet here with some shortcuts to my shortcuts. Okay, so I'm going to use Python because most likely it's on the box. And we will spruce this up a bit. Add some color. Dash of color always makes things nice, along with auto completion. There it is. And my final thing to stabilize this shell, we're going to background it, Control Z. Oops. Let's go back there and grab the right command. Okay. This is the final icing on the cake, right? This raw echo, foreground reset, and then we hit the return button twice. And now look, we have auto completion, we have command history, and we have, I spoke too soon. We had color. There we go. Now we have color. LL is my color. So that is how I stabilize a shell. If you guys, maybe you guys have even a cleaner way to do it, but that's how I do it. We have our user. Now we got to go for root. So something else I will do. My next move usually is at netstat. No, this is just looking at the internal. We don't have netstat. Wow, that's usually always on the box. So substitute for netstat is the ss command with tulpin. And right away, this is what stands out. Look what's listening. Something on 42,000 internally, and it's tied to users Gitia. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that is, other than, remember, we saw that on the website. So it's related to the repository. Let's find all we can. This is how I'm going to do that. I'm going to look for anything named Gitia, wildcard it to cover all forms, and send the rest to the trash bin. Look what comes up. Ooh, a bunch of stuff comes up. We have some kind of, look at this, a Gitia root repository. We didn't see that before. Interesting. So root has a backup file on this repository, and look what else. We have failed to ban. Okay, so we have some type of rate limiter, protection mechanism, auto enumeration front end here. And this is the database. Okay, so let us find out what kind of database. Okay, so SQLite. All right, now we got to put on our SQL hats. I'm sure we've got SQLite on the box. Otherwise, why would we have that file? All right, so let's find out. Ooh, and we do. So if you're not familiar, SQLite 3 uses dot commands, and the help menu is great because all the major things are here. So we're looking for tables. Okay, so let's do a dot tables. A lot of tables here. Repository sounds interesting, and so does user. Okay, so now we can just go into common syntax here for SQL. So select all from user. I'm going to need a space, and don't forget your semicolons. Okay, that's interesting, but it's kind of messy. So let's try to clean this up. I want the column names, and that's how you do it in SQLite. Preg, I think it's Pragma? Pragma, that's right, Pragma. Okay, that's way better. So this is all of the column names. We've got ID, name, password. Okay, so let's do that again and just pick out what we want. From user. Wow. Bingo. There we go. We got their IDs, their name, and some funky hash. Do not recognize that, actually. But here's what I'll do quickly, just to either crack it or process elimination. So crack station. Sorry, for crack station. CyberChef. There we go. Just copy paste those in. I clean them up because we actually don't need these and they will confuse our tools. So now I'll reload the page, hoping that the magic function will recognize something here, but it doesn't. I always double check it because sometimes magic won't turn on automatically. But now I know that it tried, but it doesn't look like it's really sure. So the final play, since I have no idea what these are, is I'll hit analyze. And unfortunately, CyberChef just doesn't know, right? So now I'll take these clean hashes, okay, copy them, and plug them into crack station, okay, and see what happens. Not good. We're seeing red, not found, unknown. So it has no idea what these are either. I don't feel so bad now. Now, little background, crack station. It's set up with a rainbow table, probably one of the largest on the internet, 15 billion, I think, and counting. And these are all the different hash types. So what did that take? 5 seconds. Imagine what it would have taken just to get the syntax together for a hash cat, let alone waiting for your PC to go through just one format. So it's a huge time saver. Granted, we failed, but we also saved a ton of time, and we know that we eliminated a lot of possibilities. The other thing I'm starting to sink in for me, as I'm sure it is for you, is that brute force is probably not going to be the way. We've already found credentials hard-coded in the repo, so there's going to probably be more of that, is my guess, and penalties and discouragement from brute forcing. So that is where we're at with SQLite. The other thing I want to look at is that repository. select all from repository. Interesting. So there is that name of that repository, backup. And then there's just a bunch of, I don't know what these are. I mean, zeros and ones, binary, settings, I don't know. But again, let's run that pragma because we'll get the column names. Let's see if we can make a little more sense of this table. Okay, so we got the ID, owner name, name of the repo, and then these are settings. So can we change settings? Is fork is private. This looks interesting. Right now it's set to 0. Okay, let's look. Let's take a look a little bit closer. So ID, owner name, name of the repo, and that setting is private from repository. What do we got? Okay, so ID, root, backup, and 1. So it is private, is set to 1, which I assume is yes, or it's set on. And then our user can't touch this repo, and it's set to 0, which is why we could see it. So what if we could change the user and set is admin setting to 1? Because we did see that up there where ID, yeah, where ID, do we have to, try to remember my syntax now. Where ID equals 3, we don't need quotes, we do need the semicolon. So the idea behind this command, if it works, is to grant us admin privileges, user scones, and that will hopefully allow us to see a private repo. So let's check that out. We'll go back to our repo, which, where'd it go? Okay, so our reverse shell knocked it out, but it's still there. I have to log out and log in for those settings to take place. Remember that super password. Okay, this looks a little different. Let's explore. Ooh, look, do you see what I see? Okay, is admin, which is, I guess, root privileges, right? Gives us access to a private repo. So what did we uncover? We have a commit. Doesn't really look like this portion is telling us much, but there are 2 branches. Dot files, 4 commits, and looks like we added some interesting SSH file with leet speak, super secure, I think that reads, and then they deleted it. Probably shouldn't store this. Oh, so they were catching on, but little do they know that you can't quite erase your footprints that easily. Let's take a look. Oh, what do we have here? Do you see what I see? A private key. Root. That's about as good as it gets. Okay. Now, a little trick here. A lot of you guys would maybe make the mistake of trying to copy paste this and then, oh God, I have to get rid of and reformat. Well, if you go just right here, view file, it's already in perfect form for you. Now, you literally just have to grab it and copy paste it and park it in a file. So we'll just call this ID RSA, paste it, and it is ready to go. Time saver. Now, before we can use this, we have to change the permissions. Okay, to 600. And let's see if we can use this. Okay. Now we're going to try to log in as root at this Git and Crumpets. Ooh, passphrase. Okay. Now, before we break out the brute forces, remember, this room is telling us that brute force is not necessary. So, you see, this is the strangest file spelling I've ever seen in my life. Like, this looks like a passphrase or a password for that matter. So, we have nothing to lose. Let us plug it in and see what happens, because we have nothing else to go on here. And look at that. So the lesson here is do not store hard-coded credentials in any form, no matter how secure you think they are, on your GitHub repo. That message is coming in loud and clear. And there is the root flag. Oh, in base 64, but we already know how to do that, don't we? We send it to that function, and we have our final flag. So that is it on this box. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. And until next time, happy hacking.